Hello, Somerville. My name's Ed Halloran. Welcome to the Somerville Labor Show. We are located right here in the heart of Somerville, right in Union Square. We've got another exciting episode here. We had an exciting episode, I think it was a couple of weeks ago that you saw, Snow Money, with Kristen Shin. And we're always happy to bring you, anything that has to do with labor. We love it. We enjoy it. As you can see, if you can see out there, Green Line is in town. It's open. And people are excited about that as well. Everybody's getting around. I also have Yvette's here with me, and she's very diligent, and I appreciate her hard work. Greg Hill is also here with me, as he always is, and Greg's always working hard for us. I appreciate it, Greg. Thank you very much for being here so much. I also want to thank Somerville Media Center for helping us out and setting all of this up. We also have YouTube subscribers that watch us. They enjoy it, and we enjoy having them. So if you want to see us, go to Somerville Labor Show on YouTube. You can watch. We've got probably about 60, 70 shows on there, and they're running constantly. So thank you for viewing, and we appreciate that. So I am a very strong supporter of labor, as everybody knows. I'm the president of my union. I have been for the past 15 years. And I'm not going to give you all of my history, but I've been walking in picket lines as far back as the age of 4 or 5 years old with my mom. So I am a very strong advocate when it comes to labor. So one of the things that I've been watching, I'm sure all of you have been watching, is this whole Starbucks organizing campaign. Really, really pretty amazing. I mean, here in Somerville, we've got the Diesel Cafe, the Forge, Block 11 right over here down the street. I mean, people are waking up now to organizing and unions, and it's nothing new. Somerville always wants to be a union town. It says it's a union town. And coming from me, I say it's becoming, it's getting there, right? And I have a guest that's going to talk about that, about a union town in Somerville and Boston in the area, and what's going on exactly with the organizing campaign. So we just happen to have a barista here who is a SBWU, that's a Starbucks Boston Workers United representative and union organizer, and currently attending law school, Tyler Daguerre, and welcome to the city of Somerville. I mean,
hey,
what do you think, man? I mean, you've sat here for a few moments, had a discussion. You and I had a pre-discussion about a lot of this. Tell me a little bit about yourself. You go to law school.
Yeah, I actually just graduated in May of 2022, so earlier this year, finally all done with that, fortunately.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've gone into many Starbucks in my time. I find everybody to be very cool, very chill, very polite to me, and I enjoy going there. I like their coffee, I like their tea. So tell me, what brought you to become a barrister? How did this happen?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, so I first started making coffee in undergrad. I went to San Francisco State University, and there was like a Whole Foods nearby before Bezos bought it. So I got a job there just to kind of make some part-time cash. I was an RA at the time, so I needed a little bit of money. Mm-hmm. And so I got a job in their cafe, and I made coffee there for about 3 or 4 months before I had to go back home for the summer. And then once I graduated college, I ended up taking a gap year to get ready for law school. And during that time, I got a job in a little coffee shop in my parents' hometown in Pismo Beach, where they moved after I went to college, Pismo Beach, California. So I worked there for 1.5 years, and I just kind of fell in love with the trade of it. I love coffee generally. I like just interacting with people, making drinks. So I always loved it. So when I finally moved out to Boston for law school, I was living in Brookline near Coolidge Corner. And I wanted to get a job again to make some more money, and there's a Starbucks right down the street. So I was like, I'm going to apply there, make some coffee part-time, see what happens. And then one thing led to another, and here we are.
And you're going to be a lawyer?
Fingers crossed. I take the bar in February, so we'll see what happens there. But
we were talking off camera here about that, and you were going to do another form of law. What was that? What were you thinking?
Yeah. So I wanted to go into criminal defense. I was going to be a public defender. That was my goal entering law school. Yeah. And then through doing some volunteer work with criminal defense and really realizing that it takes a certain type of grit and heart that I just didn't have to keep fighting that fight every day, day in, day out. So I picked an easier one, labor, obviously.
Oh, man.
Yeah, much easier.
Listen,
yeah,
I don't know about that.
Oh, I'm completely joking. No, I ended up, my organizing kind of coincided with, I took a labor law class my final semester of law school, and then my professor was a longtime attorney for SEIU as well. So he got me connected to a lot of great people. In fact, one of those people out here in Somerville, Rand Wilson, and I just kind of fell in love with labor law. So that's kind of my focus now.
So, bringing us up to date, what got you involved in organizing Starbucks workers? Because there's a lot that goes along with this. This is not just something that's really easy to do. It takes a lot of courage, and I applaud anybody that decides to organize. I can tell you right now, what got you involved in the campaign? What struck a chord with you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess you can call it like naivete a little bit. Like I started kind of looking around at organizing my shop before the Buffalo campaign went public, just because I fundamentally understood what unions were about, and I kept seeing a lot of talk about, hey, wherever you work, organize your workplace, just like on social media, talking to other friends of mine who believe in labor. So I kind of started hinting around. Our shop in Coolidge Corner is right next to the Brookline Booksmith, which is union. I think they're with UAW. So I started kind of asking about them, asking what the process was like, and then I saw when the folks in Buffalo filed, and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to get connected to this. So once I saw that, I shared the article on Instagram, and I asked, hey, if any other local baristas know anything about this, please connect, let's figure this out. And as luck would have it, a friend of mine in law school, Madison Murnane, was childhood best friend of an organizer out in Buffalo who was on this campaign. Wow. And that's how I got connected. I followed up with him. And then a few months later, my store, along with 1304 Commonwealth Avenue in Alston, became the 5th and 6th stores nationally to file. So we were very early in the campaign.
You are very early in the campaign. It takes quite a while, actually. You know that.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And if you got hooked up with Rand Wilson, I can tell you that guy is a legend.
Oh, he's amazing.
Yeah. I know Rand. He's been on the show several times. He's amazing. He can do just about anything. I don't know. I've never met anybody quite like him, so I'm glad to have known him. Tell me about, in terms of what are people looking for? So, if you're a worker and you work in Starbucks, right?
Right.
I mean, it's not just like running the cash for just pouring a cup of coffee, making a cappuccino, whatever.
Right.
There's a lot more to it, but what are they looking for benefits and things like that? I mean, what is it? Where's the need there? Does it have to do with treatment? Does it have to do with? Obviously, it has to do with money and benefits. What are some of the things you guys have been looking for?
Yeah, of course. So I think one of the main things that is a common concern that's shared by a lot of baristas, people don't really understand how high the volume is at our store as far as how many customers come in between a 30-minute block. Through an 8-hour shift, it's really exhausting. We have mobile orders, Uber Eats, so it really just piles up. And on top of that, too, you have to think about people gotta pay rent and make ends meet, right? And it's just a lot of physical and mental strain. So one of the main things is having adequate staffing. That's especially been a big call to action recently. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we're very understaffed, but we're still not shutting mobile orders off. We're getting a whole bunch of customers coming in, and it just adds to the stress that we're already under. And for what we're getting paid, which is very significantly below a living wage, not minimum wage, but a living wage. That's just one of the main focuses that we're
so basically you're also inundated because of COVID, because now they've got this curbside thing, which has gone crazy, right? I mean, it's gone viral. People are like, I mean, if I go and I order something, I can see people just walking in, it's like just grabbing their orders and picking them up,
Well, that's the funny thing too, is they actually used to have more precautions. They would do the curbside pick up only, but and this is a great reason why you need a union, right? They cut all of those things. They cut COVID pay without telling us, or without giving us any say in that process, mm-hmm. right? They stopped requiring masks, which was a huge thing, especially during peak numbers of COVID. They stopped doing the mobile only sort of situation too, so they increased the cafe size and let people sit in there. And they did all these things unilaterally without any consultation from the workers, and it just kind of shows how expendable you are and how the company can do kind of whatever they want without worker input. So that's just another big selling point of why a union is so important.
And you want them to keep you safe.
Absolutely.
And they're responsible for that, actually.
They're absolutely responsible for that, yeah.
Right, so you want some, your health, your welfare, they are responsible for you.
Yeah.
So You talked about credit card tips too when I was talking to you about that. Like I know that when I go in, if I go and buy something, like sometimes they'll flip the little cash register, screen over, and they'll say, do you want to leave a tip or whatever you want to do? I'll put, if I want to put money in, I can do that as well. But you're saying that basically you guys can't do that. You're not allowed to do things like that. Get a look for money or whatever.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
there's a really funny sort of update on that too. So not only had we been calling for credit card tips, which a lot of other companies, even large corporations, have done the credit card tipping option. Starbucks hadn't historically for a very long time. They just started unveiling it, but in true Starbucks union busting fashion, this is now the third wave of benefits that we've been deprived of. So non-union stores now have credit card tipping, but unionized stores do not. And at this point, it's just like the cruelty is the point. They're not coming in here saying, "Oh yeah, we'll work with you." Their excuse is always like, "Well, we have to bargain for these new changes, right?" But our union has openly and willingly stated, "Hey, we accept all benefits you're unveiling. Like, no need to bargain here. We are explicitly accepting these new changes." And of course, they shrug their shoulders.
That's going to be the struggle too, by the way, when you guys go to bargain, when you do finally become a union.
Right.
And to bargain your contract,
right.
I know from experience to build that, it takes a long time. You have to be very diligent, very patient. I get all of that.
Yeah.
So NLRB, National Labor Relations Board, let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
So what's the process for a non-union shop like Starbucks, right?
Yeah.
To organize an attempt to be a union
right.
At the NLRB? What is it that you guys have to do?
Right. So currently the way that it works, and this was a strategy early on in our campaign, we wanted our bargaining units to be store by store. At the time, Starbucks tried to get district by district, obviously to try to tank votes. So we won through our pre-election hearing our bargaining unit to be individual stores, right? So as it stands, we have 270 unionized stores, Starbucks stores in the country. But to be more specific in this context, the NLRB process for that is you sort of talk to your workers about how they feel about a union, and once you feel, what we tell them is 70% support at least is the floor. NLRB rule says 30%, but we understand that either through union busting or over that time people might leave. You want to have a solid 70%. So we push 70% and then sign the union cards once folks are ready, once you hit that 70% threshold, and then you send them into the National Labor Relations Board, and then you'll either have a pre-election hearing where you have to sort of hash out with Starbucks like any sort of issues of material fact that you have to dispute, right. Or if Starbucks waives that, you can sort of avoid that process by having a out of court agreement, right. So to speak.
So let's talk about this. Let's get the whole harassment, retaliation, intimidation thing out there, right?
For sure.
Because that's really important, a very important part of building a union.
Right.
Because you will have companies that will intimidate workers, right? That will threaten them because they don't understand, they don't get the law, they don't, they don't even pay attention to it, right? We know that. Right. Yeah. What's important to understand is a petition that is signed or a card that is signed
right.
by a potential union member that wants to be a union shop.
Right.
That is strictly confidential.
Right.
Nobody gets to see it.
Right. So if you sign a union card, the employer is not able to access that information directly. They're not able to see, oh, so and so signed this card.
So what they do is they kind of try and find authorize these signatures through, let's say, someone at the National Labor Relations Board.
That's correct. Yes.
Right? They authenticate them or something like
That's
that,
right.
or whatever they do out there. Okay. So there's protection of the yard. So the obvious reason is because any retaliation that the employer may attempt against the employee who signed a position would be deemed illegal, right?
Right.
So if somebody were to try to threaten somebody, so what recourse does the employee have against an employee who's intimidating and using union busting tactics?
Right. So it depends on how egregious the act is and also what the result is. So for example, if it's something like improper scheduling or something where the worker is still classified as an employee, that worker can submit an unfair labor practice claim. And then based on what the court finds, they may be entitled to back pay or other damages as relevant. But especially for workers who have been terminated, which in our campaign, we've already had more than 150 workers who have been terminated for organizing. So as a result, we're seeing more and more of these workers being reinstated with back pay. And that's a huge victory that we're seeing, and it doesn't even feel like a victory. It's just, what is right. They shouldn't have been fired in the first place, and Starbucks knows this, but they're willing to game the system and play the
it's the right way to go.
Yeah.
And they're gonna have. I'm telling you, Boston, Massachusetts. This is the area definitely. I mean, if you were anywhere else in the country, it's more of a struggle. But I think I'm very excited about this whole thing. I mean, this campaign.
Yeah.
So I don't want to bore anybody. I really don't. To me, this is an interesting subject.
Yeah.
But there's certain parts of the law
that
are important, right? They should be stated as such. And not that everybody's going to remember, Section 7.
All right.
Right. NLRB, act right to organize. Right.
Right.
Okay. Just give me a little bit about what is that. Just a little bit.
Right. So in 1934, I know. Sorry, everybody.
In
1934, Congress passed the National Labor Relations Act, which is basically, for the first time, enshrined in law your rights as a worker to take concerted action. Right. As in going on strike and otherwise forming a union. And so Section 7 sort of lays out your basic rights to organize under protected concerted activity and basically says that any sort of infringement upon that right is a violation of the law. Section 8A specifically is all about the rights. Hey, I got you.
Thank you.
Section 8A specifically covers all of the rights of the employee with respect to taking action. However, in 1947, the Taft-Hartley Amendment was passed to the National Labor Relations Act, and that ushered in a whole chunk in Section 8B for employer rights. As far as if employees are able to do X, Y, and Z, employees and unions cannot do X, Y, and Z against the employer. So it's sought to sort of even the playing field legally, but we understand that corporations and workers are not on an equal playing field, right? So what it really did was put a huge shift back in the hands of corporations, and they've been working with that for the last 70 plus years.
So tell me, give our viewers just some of the tactics that you've seen or some that you've heard what are they doing against some of the employees that are currently, that they think may have signed a union card, but they really don't know if they have or not?
Right. Well, speaking from personal experience, they would have a lot of what's known in the union world as captive audience meetings, right, where they call everybody together and have discussions about, they can't say, oh, the union is bad and we don't think you should vote for it, but they can say, well, you may not get everything that you have now as far as benefits. It's not the company's opinion, but it is our personal opinion that you're better working with us, and then really it's just an opportunity for them to pay you to sit through a whole bunch of corporate propaganda, right? So that's what they were doing at a lot of places. However, at least in Massachusetts, my store in Coolidge Corner and the 1304 Alston store, when we were first getting organized and having these meetings, we would compare notes and take pictures and share it with each other. So if one store had a meeting with these, upper execs that are coming in and have never met you before, by the time the other store met with them, they already knew the whole spiel and made edits and corrected them. And honestly, a lot of the people who were sent to talk to us didn't know much about labor law. So both myself and the lead organizer at 1304, Kyla Clay, were in law school at the time. So we were kind of reciting the laws back to them and making sure that they understood that we couldn't be bossed around. And it wasn't just us, it was all the workers coming together and working together on this. So they stopped doing the sessions after about 2 or 3 times.
Oh, well, you broke them a little bit there.
Hey, that's our goal.
You know what? For me, everything is based on trust. My whole life is based on that because it's just the vibe that I get from people, which is really, really important. So when you're organizing, I mean, you have to have that trust with your potential members that you're going to be representing.
Yeah, of course.
They have to believe in you. They have to know that you're going to guide them every step of the way. And I'm not being preachy. I mean, from my experience, it's what I've seen. And, it's like, I kind of liken it to I remember when I was a young kid, we had a doctor that would visit the house, right? He'd do these home visits. I always like to use this. I don't know why,
I
but
follow you.
but it's kind of like that, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
you know, now you go to the emergency room and it's kind of like this weird kind of a thing, right? Everybody's used to that. But, you know, I feel like if, you know, you're invested into it and you're like a doctor, you visit them, you're with them, you know, it's not like you send them somewhere else, you know, to talk to somebody else before they can get through to you.
Right.
It's one of those things. So I just think a trust is so important in what you guys are doing. That's why
agreed.
I'm really excited about a lot of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. So across the country, there's a lot of Starbucks employees are, you know, they're on the move. They're organizing unions just about everywhere, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So we're in Massachusetts and of course in Somerville, by the way. We're here in Somerville right now.
Right.
But we're in Massachusetts. How many would you say in Massachusetts are organizing?
Yeah, so we have 15 officially unionized stores in Massachusetts. Compare that to 19 in New England, and again, like 270 plus nationally. So our region is cooking pretty well.
Okay.
We have a few other stores right now that we're working with that have not publicly filed yet, but so obviously I won't say who that is, but we're really excited about that. And then as for Somerville, there are 3 Starbucks stores in Somerville, and so far we have not filed any stores here yet. But what I will say is that not only do we have such a great community in Somerville, and again with Rand and Somerville Stands Together, and also with State Rep Eiderhoven, who we work really closely with.
Erica's great.
We love this community so much, and we recognize it as having so much potential. So really, it's just a matter of time, quite frankly. And we are on the ground, really trying to like.
I'm glad you mentioned Eric Eiderhoven. I'm not going to mention every single person that we know here in Somerville, all the politicians along with the mayor.
Sure.
But you have to get behind Tyler and what he's doing. Get behind him, and all the workers that want to unionize in the city of Somerville, because that's the right way to go. You know, because the next thing I'm going to talk about here is billionaire Howard Schultz.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he is the owner now of Starbucks, right?
He's the CEO, yes.
So how's he reacted to? How's he reacting to this right now? What's going on with him to this organizing?
Well, one thing to know about Howard Schultz, for context, is that he has always been a union buster. So Starbucks was a unionized company before Schultz took it over. In the 1970s, they were unionized with the UFCW, and then when Schultz bought it out and took it over in the 80s, it became his goal to oust the union, and through his idea, it was because if your workers trust you, I was reading like an excerpt from his book the other day, because I'm trying to study the man. He talks about like if the workers trust you, and kind of going back to the trust thing, and you put trust in your workers, then they won't need a union, right? That's his philosophy. Be the good boss, and they will not go to a union. So he kept all the benefits that UFCW and the union won for those workers, and the workers won for themselves, and sort of spun it as like, look at what a great boss I am. Look at how great these benefits are relative to all the other service industry jobs, which was true, but he leaves out the union part of that, which is really what gave us a lot of the benefits that we see now. And so I think that Howard Schultz, he's left the company and come back. I think this is his 3rd time. And every time he's done that, it's because he believes that he's the one to save things. He has this ego that's attached to his company, and this image and this idea of him being a good boss. And he doesn't want that image tarnished more than anything. And so he would rather, you know, risk everything, which is what he's doing by coming in and union busting, all for the sake of his ego, quite frankly, because shareholders have told him not to do this and not to union bust, and he's time and time again just ignored them and said that he wouldn't bargain with us publicly, and continues to go on his tirade. And it's only a matter of time before he either has to give up and hang his head in shame, and he's being replaced by another CEO, but we know he's not going away. But, you know, if he really wanted to be that good boss, he would listen to his workers, over 9,000 of them that are organizing, and say, you know what, fine, I'll play ball. I'm going to respect you guys and your decision to unionize, and we're going to work together.
Is the pay relatively reasonable?
You know, I mean, the dichotomy that I always like to make is this. Is it reasonable for other food service jobs? Yes.
Okay.
Is it reasonable to live off of? Absolutely not, right? Especially in Boston, the living wage calculator puts the living wage at somewhere around $22 an hour, right? Living wage here sort of means like being able to afford an apartment, not have to work more than 40 hours a week, and being able to stick with kind of the 30-20-50 rule, right? Currently, I make about $1,700 or $1,800 a month, and my rent is $1,100. So I'm paying far over 50% in rent just to try to skirt by.
So I'm kind of like, I'm not trying to downplay this, right?
No, it's important.
But it's like this side hustle thing that people think that baristas are like, you're working there because it's just like, getting some extra cash or whatever you're doing.
Right.
It's not like a full-time job. It's not a career, right?
Right, well,
so
I mean,
are you going to tell me that a lot of people are making a career out of it?
Absolutely, yeah. And I'll tell you quite honestly, we talked about the law, and I didn't want to go too on about myself, but I've quite honestly decided that I just want to do pro bono work. I want to be a barista for as long as I can be. I would like to eventually promote to a shift supervisor, but I love making coffee intrinsically, and I love offering my legal services where I can, especially to workers, but I don't want to make money off of that. I want to organize and I want to make coffee. And the best thing about Starbucks too, historically, is that there have been a lot of partners who've been there for 5, 10, 20 years even. And it used to be seen as a job that was viable for retirement and for, allowing you to live, and it has not kept up to where we are today. Just as wages haven't kept up relative to inflation or rent costs.
So will you be making me a macchiato when you're a labor lawyer?
Yes. Yeah, quite literally. Yeah. I take the bar in February, but I guarantee if you come to my shop in April, when I find out if I passed or not, I'll still be making a macchiato.
You'll still be getting it done.
I like it intrinsically. I don't know if you ever read a legal case book, but it's not as much fun as making a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I mean, I do my own, like, I don't know, I think I do like...
Oh, you got your own thing at home?
I got espresso, I do some stuff at the house.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm still working on foaming the milk,
Well, see, that's the other thing too, is like Starbucks does a lot of automation. I would prefer to eventually go back to like an artisanal coffee shop, if I'm really going to make a career out of it. But, I want to stick at Starbucks for as long as possible, especially if we're working so hard to win these benefits and get this contract. I'm just going to walk away from that.
Let me tell you, I'm going to tell you right now, I am telling you this. Yvette's here and Greg is here. This is historical when it comes to what Starbucks is attempting to do. It's not unusual, but it's historical with this many shops and this many people trying to do the same thing. Because I only asked you that question about making it a career because it's really important that people understand, right, that just because you're checking someone out at the at the local store or whatever, running the cash registers or whatever, doesn't mean you can't make a career out of it.
That's right, exactly.
It doesn't mean you can't pay people a living wage to do it, right?
Right.
And that's really, really important. And we work really hard in the city of Somerville. We struggle all the time for equality with other people, and I can tell you, it's difficult. It's really hard, but in the end, if you can get somewhere with it, it makes it really, really worth it.
Of course.
So let me ask you, I could ask you a question.
Yeah.
What are you asking from residents? If you were like from the city of Somerville organizing here, what can you ask from the residents here? What help can they give you? And what can you guys do to outreach to them too? Because I'm sure they would help you guys as much as possible, right?
Absolutely.
So what do you need from them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the first thing and where it falls on us, right, is to do the community outreach and support. So that's why I'm so grateful for Somerville Stands Together and Representative Eiderhoven and everybody in Somerville who's been working with us. You, obviously, Ed and Greg and Yvette. Like, I'm grateful to have people who care and want to be involved and that we can collaborate. But as far as what the everyday Starbucks customer or resident of Somerville can do, first and foremost, if you have any baristas in your family or friend group or know a friend of a friend, we have like business cards with our information on them. We have a bunch of resources that we can share to put those in your hands so that you can give those to your local barista
You seen the
friend.
cards?
Yeah, we have business cards. Yeah. I could send some to you. I don't know if I may have some in my bag right now.
Is it like it could be like what like sports cards? Like you get like how many like cappuccinos you can make in like an hour?
Oh, I wish. Yeah, it's
nothing
like that.
What's your average and macchiatos and all that other good stuff?
I wish. Yeah, I don't know how my stats would look, but
I'm getting silly.
I would definitely. We have like our information with our email, social media. I put my cell phone number on there, and then we have like a QR code that you can scan, and it shows you basically a list of different resources. So if you're a barista, you can fill out interest to unionize. If you're a supporter, you can get connected. If you're a really committed resident or customer who really wants to help this movement, you can sign up to adopt a store. We have 15 unionized stores, and we have like I think 20 or 30 adopters, most of them unions.
Oh.
So we connect them and basically ask them to go in, tip the baristas, talk to them about how you support them, you know, and basically it goes beyond that too. Building relationships with the baristas, showing up on their picket lines if they go on strike, checking in about what they need materially. But you know, we can't ask that of everyone. So at the very least, we ask you to get in contact with us to sign our no contract, no coffee pledge so that we can send you updates.
No coffee.
Yeah, I mean, catchy, right? And what we're even saying for the holidays is no contract, no gift card, because especially educators, but a lot of people, you know, buy gift cards for the holidays from Starbucks, and we're asking people, hey, you know, maybe support a local gift shop or a local coffee shop.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe direct your attention elsewhere because that's a huge money maker for Starbucks during the holidays.
Well, that's definitely, I mean, I love that. You have to outreach to people. That's one of the ways to do it. I want to close the show.
Yes.
In a few moments. I want to ask, I guess I was asked to ask about Darwin's.
Yeah.
Located in one in Harvard Square, Yvette told me it's Harvard Square, and a few other places. Can you tell me a little bit about that and what's going on with that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So one of the other great things about organizing and coalition building is that we get to work with a bunch of other unionizing workers, a lot of whom are in the service industry. So we have like a Massachusetts coffee solidarity group, right? And you mentioned Diesel Block and Forge, they're a part of it. Partners from Pavement Coffee, also partners from Darwin's. So early on, pretty much since day one, we've had Darwin's workers showing up at our rallies and our lines. And they've been in a fight against Steve Darwin, who's a local business owner. And they had entered the contract negotiations phase. And from everything I understand about it, talking to workers, Steve figured that it would be better for him to shut down those businesses rather than to negotiate with the workers on a contract. So I believe December 22nd is their last day of being open. And, you know, unfortunately, again, going back to labor law, business owners have an economic right under the law to close down their business operations.
So are they just like, poof, they're gone?
Poof, they're gone.
Not moving anywhere?
That's correct.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give you a quick little story real fast, right?
Yeah.
My mom was a factory worker in a place called Carter's Ink. And they made pens and pencils and markers, and they were like a big deal in Cambridge, right? Right on the Charles River. So they went on strike, and that's where I got my first introduction to
You were
unions.
4 or 5. I was going to ask
Local 25,
you.
yeah. So they took us and put us in the line. That was their thing. They, you know, to take the kids, put them in the line with the moms, and we did. And then I asked my mom about that. I goes, whatever happened with that whole thing? Well, we won.
Wow.
But the company moved.
There you go.
A year later, right?
There you go.
So that's their right. They shut down. They moved somewhere down south or whatever they went. So I want to hit on one quick thing here. This is a Boston Starbucks Workers United Bring strike line to the NLRB by Steve Gillis, and he posted this on August 8th, 2022.
Yeah, Steve. We love Steve.
Yeah. So disgusted by the National Labor Relations Board and its entire federal enforcement apparatus seeming to stand by while billionaire Howard Schultz publicly and flagrantly wages illegal attacks against them, at 8 a.m. August 1st, Boston Starbucks Workers United, SBWU, took its strike line to the regional NLRB's front door at the Tip O'Neill Federal Building. Strikers and their supporters alternated chants of Marty Walsh, we say no, union busting's got to go, with Howard Schultz, you can't hide.
We can see your greedy side.
we can see our greedy side, yeah. So we're gonna get somebody in here to do that. I was trying to get someone in here to do a rap for you on that. Greg wouldn't do it, so I was gonna hope you could chant. But
come on, Greg.
Next time, he's paparazzi here. So anyway, thank you. By the way, I got to show you. I got these really cool Starbucks beanie.
Yeah,
which
Red Cup Day.
I love that. Got the cup, right?
And for context, these are from, we had 111 stores strike on November 17th, so that's what these are from.
All right. Well, I want one of those $50 Starbucks
Oh,
mugs.
I'm sorry. I don't know if we got union. You know, if you increase that for union wages, whoever makes those cups, it's gonna run you a cool 120.
I wear these, believe it or not. Since I met Tyler at a march. It was the Honk Festival, right?
Yeah.
And he was there handing out buttons and all that stuff. So I've been wearing these. I got it pinned on my sweatshirt that I wear at work. These are really cool. I love these. And you know, I don't know if you can see them, but whatever. But they're very cool.
Thank you.
So I want to thank all of you very much for
Thank
being
you,
here.
yeah.
When I say all of you, I mean Yvette and Greg. The Hot Set is a cool place to be, and we've had some historical shows here. I think we have, and we enjoy doing this, and we enjoy
Yeah.
having you here.
It's an honor to be here.
thank you very
I mean it. I love it so much. I'm a huge fan of Somerville, and I've been waiting to do this show, as you know, for like a long time.
Welcome home.
It's great to be home. Can
Welcome
I crash
home,
in the
man.
back? Yeah. Where's the fridge?
This is what we do. You know,
Yeah.
we love it, and we never thought that we were going to keep continuing, but we are, and we're going to do something else, and we're going to try and expand and have more things and more. I have to put the think tank is sitting over here. You can't see him. He's the think tank. Anyway, I want to thank you all very much. You know, we're stronger together, obviously, and unity there's strength. We're going over, we're going out. Thank you very much. Take care. See you next time.